Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to share a video with you today talking about the books and series and authors that I want to read in 2022. So some reading goals, and I don't usually set myself a ton of goals, but I thought, there's a couple of things that have bothered me the last years that I haven't gotten around to certain books and series. So I thought I will set myself a goal this year for 2022, and I will try to see whether that helps me to actually stick to them. So first off, I usually set my reading goal to 52 books, so a book per week, and that is usually quite easily manageable for me, not in every month, but yeah, this month has been horrible for reading so far, but yeah, I think like 4 books a month is totally manageable. Even if I'm like very stressed out, I can listen to audiobooks and that works out fine. My actual goal is usually over 70, so I want to read between 70 and 80 books every year. Maybe even 85. I think the highest I ever got was 84. So we'll see. And that's like around the number that I usually read, and I hope that I can achieve that in 2022 as well, because there's too many beautiful books out there to slack off. So yeah, definitely want to keep reading lots of amazing books. But I have 5 series and 5 authors that I wanted to read next year for sure, so I thought I will share them with you to kind of amp up the pressure a little bit. So I want to start out with the 5 series that I want to read next year, and that means I want to read the entirety of that series, because I usually like to binge read these books and series. I don't like to have too much time between books because I tend to forget a lot. And the first one that I want to read is the Dailybooth trilogy, I think it's called. This is a trilogy that has been on my radar for the longest time. So the first book in this trilogy is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, and I think this is a series that starts out in 18th century Cairo, so even more in the past, but then I think goes off to a fantasy world, and we follow a girl who, I'm not quite sure, maybe she is a jinn or she just gets sucked into the world of the jinn, something like that. But if you know anything about me, I love any type of like Arab inspired fantasies or stories in general. Like if you give me a desert, or if you give me a jinn and mythical beings like from 1001 Night, I love it. I just love it. So why haven't I read this trilogy yet? That's a very good question, because I did not make it a goal, I guess. So here we go. So the next series is similar but different, and that is the Poppy War series by R F Kuang, the Poppy War being the first book in the trilogy. And this is very different content-wise, and I think also the tone might be quite different. I think this is even considered grimdark, correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems to be a very, very dark fantasy trilogy. Again, it follows a woman, and I think she becomes a fighter in a war, and this is inspired by actual wars that I think have taken place between China and Japan. I'm not quite sure what the inspiration was there, because I usually don't look too far into the books that I want to read, because I like to go in with just a mild idea of what the book is about. But yeah, this seems to be a very, very popular series. A lot of people love it, and as with Arab inspired fantasy, I love Asian inspired fantasy, especially like Japanese stuff. So yeah, very, very intrigued by that, and I'm not quite sure whether I'm ready for this series, but I definitely want to get to it. The next one is the Green Bone Saga. The first book is Jade City, and this is by Fonda Lee. So again, this is more Asian inspired, even though I'm not quite sure what the actual inspiration is. I think this one deals more with like mafia and like gangs and stuff. And again, I don't really have a very firm idea what this is about because I don't like to have that before I read books. But from what I gathered, Jade plays a role in that and has some kind of magical, I don't know, property to it. I have no idea. But again, I've heard nothing but good things about this trilogy and I really, really, really want to read it now that it's complete. The last book just came out recently, I think, so I'm not that far behind. But as with the other two series that have been out for a longer time, you know, you see a pattern here. I wait for the last book and then forget about it. So this is why this list exists. Now, talking about series that have been finished but that I've simply forgotten to read, we have the Diviners series. So this is the only quartet, I believe, in this list, and the Diviners is by Libba Bray. I have read one book by Libba Bray before and really loved it, even though I think it is her like least popular book. So I'm very, very excited for the Diviners. I think this one has more of like creepy vibes to it. It's not like high fantasy like these other series, but more like a, what do you call that? Like an urban fantasy or something like that. I think there's people who have special abilities and they're forbidden or something in those lines. As you can tell, I don't really know a lot, but I've been meaning to read the Diviners since it was first popular on booktube. So I have waited a long, long time. And I'm glad because they did the cover changes, and that's mainly why I always wait for series to be out completely, because I want my books to freaking match. So the Diviners will probably happen in the autumn, but I'm not sure, so I hope it happens at all. That's all I'm asking for. And then the last one is probably, no, it is the one that has been finished for the longest time, and I don't know why I still have not read this. But it is the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, the first book being the 5th season. Honestly, I have no freaking excuse. This series has been on my radar for probably, I don't know, when did that come out? Like the first book is from 2015? That seems like very late. I could have sworn it's older, but maybe I mixed that up with her other series because I know that N.K. Jemisin as an author was recommended to me like years ago. Yeah, this is a series I still have not read. It's 3 books and it seems like not that much work and probably amazing payoff because like people love this trilogy so much and I want to love it too. So that's my list. We have the Devabat trilogy, the Bone... what did I say? Bone Saga? No, there's a word between there. I never know what the series is called. The Jade City series, the Broken Earth trilogy, the Diviners Quartet, and the Poppy War trilogy. That's the ones. And now talking about authors, I also have a ton of authors where I'm always like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna read that and that author, and then I never do. So I also made a list of 5 authors that I want to read for the first time in 2022. So I think I will go through this more quickly, I'm not quite sure. But the first one on the list is Robin Hobb. That is actually the one that bothers me the most, and I avoided like doubles. Like obviously N.K. Jemisin would be on there, but I have her series already, so I don't need to put her again. So yeah, Robin Hobb. I don't expect to read all of her books, like her Realm of the Elderling complete series. But yeah, I want to start reading that. I have a ton of people I follow on booktube who love Robin Hobb and read her books, so yeah, that's definitely an author that bugs me. I think even my mom has read Robin Hobb, and if she has not, I should probably get her the books as well. So that's the first one, and I would obviously start with the, I think it's called the Farseer trilogy, like the first books about Fitz. I think that's the reason why I still haven't started the books, because they sound like very traditional fantasy following a guy, and I don't like reading about guys that much. So yeah, I think that's been the thing that always holds me off. But on the other hand, everyone loves Fitz, so I probably shouldn't. The next one is Juliet Marillier. This is an author where I'm just not sure whether I'm gonna like her books or not. Could be hit or miss, to be honest. They always sound like very magical and whimsical, but they also focus a lot on romance, and I'm not a romance reader. So this could go into any direction. So I would definitely want to try her first book in the Seven Waters series, Daughter of the Forest. I would like to try that book because I think that is the most popular and well-loved book of hers. And then just see whether I like that one and then keep going, or whether it's just not for me, and that would be totally fine as well. But I just want to know, I want to find out, you know? Then another one that is horribly shameful, but Toni Morrison. I think I would start out with Beloved. That's the one that I've heard the most things about, and I think again it's the most popular book by Toni Morrison. I think it's also a kind of ghost story, so that's totally my jam. And yeah, I don't know, why have I never read a Toni Morrison book before? I have no excuse at all. Same with Octavia E. Butler. I've seen her book Kindred basically everywhere, and again it is a kind of time travel historical fiction book situation. So it sounds very, very intriguing. I think it is such an interesting concept, and now my cat is joining in the conversation as well. So yeah, she's like a little beast. So yeah, I definitely want to read Kindred next year, maybe even some of her other books. But again, with these ones, I just want to start off with the book that I've heard the most about and kind of go from there and see whether I'm interested to read more. And then the last one, again, is quite shameful. It's not that I have never read this author before, but I've never read a book that the author wrote by himself before. So it's Terry Pratchett. And we all know the Discworld books, I guess, I hope so. And I have not read a single one of them. I have read Good Omens, which I absolutely loved, but yeah, I just never continued getting more into Terry Pratchett, and I think it's definitely time for me to do that. I think that his humor will be right up my alley. So yeah, I just really want to try it. But honestly, that world is so intimidating. Like there is like what, 40, 50 books in that series? I have no idea. It's very overwhelming, and honest to God, I just have no idea where to start. So if you have a recommendation where I should start with Terry Pratchett, I would be awfully glad to have that. So yeah. And these are the 5 series and the 5 authors I want to read in 2022. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Let me know what your goals or like specific books you want to read next year are, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!